Everyone, and welcome back to our Warrior series. Right now, game number 6. Let's do it. Playing against Druid. Druid always a class where you have to account for a lot of big minions. So whenever I see the execute, I always think like, ooh, could be nice to keep this. Could really help out to kill that Iron Bark on turn 8. But I think it's a little bit too preemptive if we keep it here. So I would only keep the 1-drop here, aim for a 2-drop. Once again, Heroic Strike could be played on turn 2, but... Sorry, I'm still pretty yawny. I'm still looking for a playable card on turn 2. Now, Heroic Strike does come back, so playable card on turn 2 for me. I'd rather have a River Croc, Mad Bomber, Fairy Dragon, Bloodfen Raptor. We've been over this, right? We've been over this, that the Heroic Strike is not the ideal card to play on turn 2, but hey, it can be played on turn 2, especially if you have the coin, because with the coin, you don't have to assume your opponent is going to coin out a 2-drop in order for the Heroic Strike to do something. So that's a pretty good upside. So opponent plays a Direwolf here. Not the most threatening minion. Right here you have a chance to get greedy. You might say like, hey, if we armor up now and go face, next turn I might get to cleave this guy. Or I get to coin out my Arathi Weaponsmith and kill it with the weapon. That's true, but yeah, that's really, really greedy, and you know, you're gonna float 2 mana now, that's gonna go towards the hero power, so I debated it, it really crossed my mind, but it just makes a lot more sense to use that Heroic Strike here, kill his minion, 2 mana for 2 mana, that is not a bad trade, you don't have to feel bad about it. Yeah, you'd rather have that Heroic Strike go face later on, but there's nothing wrong with trading in an Heroic Strike for your opponent's 2-drop if the alternative is the hero power. Right, so... there we go. Nice and clean, not greedy at all, making the right play, in my opinion. So we'll see what our opponent puts out here. It's going to be a card, apparently. A Growth Tender. All right, cool. So Growth Tender, not the ideal curve card. Would have rather had a Spider Tank or an Ogre Brute. For us, we've gained a card, so for our deck that's pretty good, because we don't have the best draw engine, we just have a Battle Rage and Loot Order. So it's I really like the fact that he gave us an extra card. I think the extra mana would be better for him. So I would coin out the Arathi Weaponsmith here, and actually use my face to damage his Growth Tender. And this is the part where... you know, it almost sounds like cheating what I'm about to say, right? Because I use my time so well to think ahead, and I've seen so many board states that I can assume that our opponent is going to play a 5 health creature next turn. That is just statistically more likely than anything else. A Senjin, a Yeti, a Violet Teacher, yada yada yada, you name it, right? So 5 health creature is fairly likely to come down next turn. This means that if we use our face into his creature, into his minion preemptively, we give ourselves the option to slam his 5 health creature next turn, cleave to finish off the Growth Tender and damage the 5 health creature, and then use the leftover of our weapon to finish off his Yeti slash Senjin slash Violet Teacher slash whatever he might play, and preserve our entire board. This is why I always say, take your time, look at the board, think about what your opponent could play next turn, and then prepare accordingly. So this is my preparation. I play for the play that is most likely to happen, which is, in my opinion, I always prepare for a Yeti. That's like, in my mind, prepare for the Yeti. Yeti is about the worst he can throw at you. Unless you're a mage and then you play a Water Rally, that's even worse, but that's pretty hard to deal with usually. And he plays a Yeti. So here we are, guys. Our preemptive work really paid off. Now we get to use the Slam Cleave combo, our face to finish off the Yeti, and our entire board survives. Even little Warbot survives. So right now, I'm already thinking ahead for next turn, right? What can we do next turn? Hey, I saw we just got an execute. We'll keep this Warbot alive rather than the weapon, because I can see him play his 5-drop next turn, which is most likely Druid of the Claw. If he plays a Druid of the Claw, you can... sorry about that. You can use your Warbot to damage his Druid of the Claw and then execute it, which makes for a really efficient clear on normally a very problematic minion. So keep doing that, guys. Keep assuming that he's going to play the most likely play which is hard if you're a new player, but it's very rewarding. So just play a lot of games, watch a lot of streams. I mean, this is great to learn, right? Just try to be exposed to as many cards as possible, and then you'll get a natural feel to what the most likely play is. So he plays something else. This is definitely not the most likely card to come out on turn 5. It's a fairly common card, but usually you'll have one body which consists about 4/6. Fend Creeper is a 3/6, Smith is a 4/6, Spectral Knight's a 4/6, Druid of the Claw is a 4/6. So that's the stats that I aim to beat on turn 5. I aim to beat a 4/6. So he split them up, which makes it a little bit more annoying for us to deal with. We'd much rather have a big guy for the execute, but hey, he might play an Ironbark later on, which we can use the execute for. Sorry guys. Don't know what's going on today. My apologies. So the best play, according to me here, and it's really not an easy play. Like, it's not so much fun. I feel like you just have to put the Belcher down and ignore. You might say, hey Shady, why do you use your 3/3 into his 2/2? That makes more sense, right? He gets a really easy swipe then, like our guy dies and we don't deal any face damage. So I like this a lot more. This way we dealt an extra 3 damage, and right now he would swipe my 3/3, use his 4/4 to clean it up, and use his 2/2 into my Warbot. No, use his 2/2 into my little guy. But then I've actually dealt an extra 3. Otherwise, he could just get away with a better swipe, in my opinion. So he takes extra damage here by using his hero power, which of course for us is very good. We are a very face damage oriented warrior. So let's look at the board here. I believe I take my time on this turn, so we have time to discuss it. It's a bit of a awkward board, but once again, I think that the best play here is to play the Heroic Strike. Use it to kill a Spider Tank. It's a decent trade, 2 mana for 3 mana. You don't want to use your Heroic Strike on minions, but sometimes you have to. So that's both Heroic Strikes used this game. Our opponent's been keeping up fairly well with tempo, and we can notice that we are getting into the higher win regions where people are just constantly getting better and better at board control. You can really see that in the previous runs, those Heroic Strikes went face all the time, and now I have to expend them to keep board control, which is fine. You know, you can't always expect to have an easy game. So here, Heroic Strike to kill a Spider Tank, then the Warbot into the 4/1, and then you'd say the 3/3 into the 2/1, but I would play the Dread Corsair, which means that you can put your 3/3 into his face again. Because, yeah, he could use his 2/1 and his hero power to kill the taunt, but then he takes another extra 2 damage. You know, normally 3, but he gains an Arbor if he hero powers. So that's really not bad. So we have a really easy way to control the board up till now. Still have 1 execute, still have 1 silence, so we do have some weapons hidden for the for the lethal, but it's gonna get close. It's gonna get close. Matter Bomber, and he kills the thing that's on 1 health. That's unfortunate, but at least he didn't kill my other one. He dealt a lot of face damage to me though. Damn. But so far so good. Not a great creature for me to deal with right now. This turn takes a little bit of thought, but I feel here you just need to turn the switch, say like, okay, you've got a lot of cards. Probably those cards are a lot more high value than I have. You're probably gonna have Ironbark. You're probably gonna have, you know, a lot of 7/8 drops that are gonna do work. So I'm gonna play out my cards here, go face, and then you would say, all right, and then we trade the Arcane Golem into his Bomber, right, Shady? That makes sense. I say, screw it, let's go face. If you trade it into the Bomber, I mean, we have a fairly high chance of lethal. But yeah, our opponent here is going to show us his secret weapon. He was hiding a heal bot, so that's pretty annoying. And now, of course, with the heal bot, it would be a better choice to kill the Bomber. Looks like I spoiled a little bit. He wasn't gonna play it yet. Bloop, there we go. Alright guys, sorry, 2-second spoiler. And then a Flesh-Eating Ghoul, and then he free kills the 3 and 3, which makes sense. So if we had used our Golem into that, he would be on 20 HP, but he wouldn't be able to free kill our 3/3. I think it's fine. I think I made the right call. You can't really play around Healbot if you have this aggressive style. So you see how the Healbot really sets us back in what we're trying to do. Healbots Belchers, Sunwalkers, they're all bad for business when you play a deck like I do. This turn took me a lot of thought, and it's not an easy turn, and I'm still debating whether I made the right call here or not. I'll tell you what I'm going to do, right? I'm going to put the Fairy Dragon into the Ghoul, I'm going to execute the 5 and 1, and I'm going to go face for 6 and put down the Raptor and Hero Power. I'm going to save my Spellbreaker to silence his taunt that he might play, and then keep going face and try to close the game out. You might say, Shady, why do you execute the Matter Bomber? Why don't you just use a River Croc into the Matter Bomber and save your execute for a big guy? Because if I'm going to have to execute a big guy, I'm going to have to use a minion again into his tree and then execute it, which means that I'm going to run out of steam. First of all, I'm going to connect for less phase damage this turn, because I would put my Crocodile into the 5-1, my Fairy Dragon into the 3-3, which means I'm going to go face for only 4. He's going to be on 12. And I would have probably developed the Spellbreaker and the Raptor. So yes, I have a 4-3, a 4-2, and a 2-3, and a 3-2. He uses 3-3 into my Spellbreaker. I have 7 power left, and my opponent is on 12 HP. And if he plays a tree, I will use my Raptor to damage the tree, execute the tree, do another 4 damage, so that's 8 damage over 2 turns. Assuming he's Hero Powering next turn, it's only 7 damage because he Hero Powers, he gets the armor. I just don't see myself killing him. I see myself running out of steam. I don't see myself closing out the game. So here's where I have to make a really tough decision and say, okay, every point of damage matters. I'm going to save the Spellbreaker to silence his taunt, because I'm assuming he has an Iron Bark. I'm assuming he has something, right? So I'm going to put down the Raptor. I'm going to execute his 5 and 1. I'm going to kill his Ghoul and just go full face and say, I need this extra 2 damage if I want to have a chance at winning the game. It might sound silly, but I still think it's the right decision. I don't know, yeah, he can free kill my Croc now with his 3-3, but he doesn't want to. He wants to kill my 4-2. Right, so once again, really tough call for a fairly difficult deck to pilot in these scenarios. The deck's pretty easy if you're just trucking someone and he's dying, but if the opponent has the heal, if your opponent is the Druid and has some taunts here and there, it's difficult. It's a difficult matchup. So you have to try and plan ahead and essentially beat him in the mind games, beat him in planning ahead. So he kills our 4-2. So I feel like we read that fairly fine, right? We read that he wanted to kill the 4-2 rather than the 2-3. Why? Because he's got enough cards. He has card advantage. He just is low on life. Well, we're fairly low as well, but we have the initiative, right? So we're the ones dealing damage. So he respects that and he says, okay, I'll kill your 4 and 2. You called me out on that one. Good job. Nice bluff. Because he could have killed the Croc for free as well, and then the trade wouldn't be as good. But he says, okay, I'm scared of you killing me, so I'm going to kill your 4-2, and I'm going to put down, hey, the big taunt, the one we saved our silence for. So now we can silence that and continue to go aggressive. He has the Wrath though, which is not that great for us. Honestly, I feel with that Wrath, he could have kept his Healbot alive. I would have probably used my Healbot in the 2-3 and then Wrathed the... He also played it wrong. He could have got the Lumberer cheaper. So yeah, huge misplays from our opponent here. He should have Wrathed the Arcane Golem. He should have used his Healbot into the 2-3. And then he played his Volcanic Lumberer. It doesn't quite change his mana, right? Because the Healbot wouldn't die. No, let's see. So Healbot dies. No, Healbot doesn't die. Arcane Golem dies. Crocodile dies. Raptor survives. 2 minions die. This comes out for 7. He rats 9. So he still can't hero power, but it's a 3-1 on the board, and I have a 3-2 rather than a 2-3. Okay, so I think he misplayed. He should have done it the other way around. Alright, but hey, as I said, I tried to analyze both my play and my opponent's play. So fairly easy turn here. I tried to armor up as well, but don't have enough mana. Silence it, go face. And right now, I've set myself up that I have a chance to win this game. If we count the damage, he's going to hero power almost for sure. So he's going to go up to 9 health. He's going to kill our 4-3, almost guaranteed. So we're going to have 4 damage. He's got 9 health. We need Reckless Rocketeer or Arcanite Reaper. I have still 1 Reckless and 2 Arcanite Reapers in the deck. So there are 3 cards right now that could bail me out in this situation. But only because we played the way that I played, I feel that we got into the situation where we have a shot at winning. I feel if we played it any other way, we would have been too far behind on damage that we no longer had a game-winning draw available. So now it's out of my hands, right? Now you have to essentially say, RNG, take the wheel, give me something to close out the game, but this is my play-to-win mentality. I play aggressive, and I say, okay, I'm going to give myself an out. Yes, it's somewhat of a long shot. It's 3 cards out of, say, 17, 18, so 18, 19 cards right now. So it's pretty, no, it's, whatever. I'm bad at math. But it's, I have a shot, right? And having a shot is better than just losing a bit slower. Because if I had safety execute, yes, his 3 would have died, and I would have probably lived 1 extra turn, but I wouldn't have a chance to win. And hey, we hit the Arcanite Reaper, we killed our opponent. GG, guys, we got there. We were able to close out the game. Really good stuff. Also, something to point out, if our opponent had chosen to ramp rather than to draw a card, I wouldn't have drawn this Arcanite Reaper. Now, yes, maybe some things would have changed with me getting the extra crystal, or, you know, him getting extra crystal and playing it different. So we're not 100% sure the game would have resolved like this, but it's food for thought, right? If he had gone for the ramps as I suggested, rather than the card draw, I would have not hit the Arcanite Reaper on this particular turn. So yeah, guys, thank you as always for being here. If you like these videos, please do consider subscribing to the YouTube channel. As you all know, I also stream on Twitch, so check that out as well. And I'll catch you all tomorrow for game number 7.